This episode of Twin Cities Trekkies is brought to you by Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor before, let me explain. First of all, it's free. There are creation tools that help you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. You can easily make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership required. They'll also help you to distribute your podcast so it can be heard on many different platforms such as Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It's all you need in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Okay, everyone, welcome to episode 30 of Twin Cities Trekkies. I am Wes.
And I am Kenzie.
And today we're going to talk about Benjamin Sisko. This is our third character analysis. How I feel about him, and that's really I really like Cisco more than the other captains, or the other main characters, I should say.
Yeah.
In Star Trek. And there are going to be 8 of them eventually of these episodes. Once Strange New Worlds ends its season, we'll probably be doing the 8th one about Christopher Pike, because he is the main captain of Strange New Worlds. And I just realized we have 7 so far. And maybe we'll probably do one on whoever is the main character of Prodigy, whoever ends up that being.
Yeah, whoever ends up being captain. So if there will even be one.
Unless you want to do this, I consider Janeway's hologram on the Protostar.
Yeah, Janeway's emergency medical hologram, but emergency captain hologram.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know who's ended up being the captain of Prodigy.
Yeah.
But maybe it's everybody. Who knows? And I know that for Lower Decks, it's Beckett Mariner.
Yeah.
And Bradward Boimler. Those are the 2 main characters, I would think. But then, with other ones like Jonathan Archer, Catherine Janeway, Michael Burnham.
Yeah.
Those are the main characters. I know that for sure. But definitely we'll be doing and then the Kelvin Kirk and stuff like that. We haven't gotten to that yet.
Definitely I'd like to explore that as well.
Yeah, so get in touch with us is simple. Send us an email at tctrekkiespodcast@gmail.com. Feel free to send us an email. We'll gladly read your email. It can be as long as you want. We'll read the whole thing, and you have like a 5-page video, 5-page email. We'll definitely read it.
Yeah,
it could probably be the whole episode right there. Like an email from so and so.
A monologue that we'll read.
Yeah. You can also comment on our Facebook or Instagram posts. The handle is TC Trekkies Pod. So you can find us on Instagram and Facebook. Posts are there about new episodes, stuff like that. I mean, granted, I have been more active on our Instagram posts lately because we, like we said last show, we haven't had much to talk about. We haven't done an episode.
Gotta find other ways to engage.
Yeah. So, stuff like that. I've been sharing posts about the anniversary of Enterprise, the anniversary of TNG, the supposed appearance of the Enterprise E and Picard season 2, maybe. I hope that's the case. Like I said, I hope that ends up being the case because it would be a big FU to Rick Berman. Because he had an unwritten mandate that the Enterprise should not appear outside the films, so that's why we didn't see the Enterprise E in Voyager's finale or in Deep Space Nine. So
strange.
Yeah, it is very strange. Even though it was referenced, it was never seen. So
yeah,
it was an unwritten mandate from Rick Berman. So this is. Yeah, so that's why I'm hoping to see the Enterprise E and Picard somehow. So, but that's okay, stuff like that. So I've been active on our Instagram feed and stuff like that. We also, we got to mention this, but It was International Podcast Day last week, which was on the 30th of September. So happy International Podcast Day.
Yay!
Yeah. And it was a good time as any to announce that we were coming back.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So after a month away. But, yeah. And then also, you can also send us voice messages. Send it to anchor.fm. Go to anchor.fm/Twin Cities Trekkies. Click on that little message button at the bottom of the screen, enable your microphone, and start recording your voice. I believe there is no time limit, so any length of time is okay, and we'll gladly react to your voicemail or your voice message and stuff like that. If you are listening to us and also have a podcast of your own, genre of podcast is not required. Send us a promo of what your podcast is, and we will gladly feature you. Like I've mentioned before, we've had 3 so far: Beyond the Pen, Pod Jerky, and living the dream with Curveball. So, and those 3 have been in cycle since we've been since roughly about mid-July. So, so if you do have a podcast promo, please feel free to send us a promo. If you have a very special episode that you want us to feature you, like if you have like a guest that you're really excited about, like for example, when Kenzie and I had that Dr. Birko last month,
so epic.
In August, we would gladly put a promo out for you. You know, we were excited to talk with her and stuff like that. We were excited to talk with Dr. Birko. So definitely. But just keep in mind that any feedback you do leave, vocal or written, may be featured in a future episode of Twin Cities Trekkies. Oh, all right. So Benjamin Sisko.
Yeah. I don't know. There's a lot to be said about Cisco.
Yes.
I think he's the most human type of captain. Besides, Janeway gives me that too. He's very, I don't know, relatable in the way that he handles some situations. Some might call it a little unhinged sometimes, but I like his persona. He's a great dad. He grows as a captain, which I think is super important because he is flawed and is, also dealing with the trauma of losing his wife, which I think is a really big thing to see. Like this, not some perfect captain who, came into that position because of accelerating or being perfect at something, but more out of a need of all right, here's the situation. Unfortunately, this happened to you, but let's try to make the best of the situation and move on. And I like his whole character development.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Kenzie, on all of those points. His wife was killed in the battle with the Borg, in the Best of Both Worlds. Has a resentment towards Picard for that reason. When we first meet him, he's a very broken man.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. A very broken, resentful man.
Yeah, and he does like a little unhinged type of stuff. Like I still like his interaction with Q and straight up punching him. I'm like, that's a very dangerous, risky move. This guy can alter our history and wipe us all out in a heartbeat. And you punched him, but somehow he respected that and kind of walked away from it without causing any issues. But still, very dangerous, risky move.
Yes, very risky. And, he punched him. You hit me. Picard never hit me. I'm not Picard.
Yeah. And I think that's a big thing to know. I feel like he's very different, such a different, truly nothing like Picard. Like Picard is kind of this stable rock of a captain, the rules and proclamation and diplomacy at its finest and rules, following that. But Cisco bends a lot of that. Like there's situations where they kind of let things slide, or he's like, this isn't the right thing to do. Like this isn't the correct thing to do, but I think it's the right thing to do. So
Yeah, I mean, they don't really in Deep Space Nine. They don't really talk about the Prime Directive very much.
It seems a little more of Wild West because they're throwing into such a weird situation with the wormhole and then him being a prophet, and it's like
Yeah,
I think he just kind of is like, I honestly, this is the Wild West. Truly, it's feeling like the Wild West. Once that wormhole opens up and they have that whole new just
yeah,
interaction with new species, it becomes the Wild West. And so things
yeah,
start getting gray area. Like I think in the episode where they run into a species where they're like, it's like a game of cat and mouse with like a species that they hunt, and like the whole species existence is to be hunted. But that we don't like the Federation doesn't understand that at all. And they're like, it's really messed up. We're not okay with this. We're gonna get diplomacy involved to like,
hmm
change this. But it ends up becoming really disrespectful, and it's not right to do. And so even though like technically this guy is doing something wrong that should be punishable, they just give him the chance to escape and like go keep doing their cat and mouse game, even though that's technically breaking rules and also violating like how they should have handled the situation. But for the sake of a new species and not like knowing really what to do with a situation like that, they just kind of played it by ear. We're like, whatever, it's fine.
yeah, yeah. It was yeah. Captive Pursuit. Yeah, that's a good episode from the first year and stuff like that. And when we meet Cisco with the other crew that show up, like Major Kira, Quark, and Odo, and stuff like that, they don't. I mean, at least for Major Kira, at the first, you know, she doesn't like the Federation being what they are because she thinks that the Federation is just another invading force for her homeland and stuff like that. And they're at odds for at least the good part of the first season. Um, him and Cisco and Kira, but towards all right,
Oh my
okay,
god.
all right. So where did you lose me?
I don't know. I just kind of cut off. Like it was
Uh,
spotty, and then it completely cut off, so I couldn't hear what you were saying. I'm like, maybe it'll catch up.
what I was saying was Kira and Cisco are generally at odds with each other in the first season.
Yeah,
Because she's first of all she believes the Federation is just another invading force.
yeah.
Uh,
She sees
and
no difference between them and
the
the
Cardassians.
Cardassians.
Yeah, she sees no difference. But then towards the end of the first season, they have more of a mutual respect for each other.
Yeah,
Because of what happens when the school is blown up. Keiko's school is blown up, and stuff like that. And and they have an assassination attempt on Barial by
yeah,
Brian's assistant Neela. They become having a more mutual respect for one another at the end of the season and stuff like that. I mean, it's great little character art for both characters. They're at odds. They kind of like do their own thing, and then
yeah,
Starfleet gets involved or stuff like that, and it's just crazy. And then at the end of the season, they're like they have a mutual respect for one another, and
yeah.
they eventually become friends. You know, uh,
Yeah, he just I like how warm Cisco's character is. Like even when he gets his hands dirty and kind of makes decisions that the crew probably could push back on, the fact that he's even this like involved front and center with the crew most of the time, I think is always something I really liked about him, where he feels like a leader in the sense that he is among his crew. Almost like he doesn't like being the diplomat. Like he wants to avoid all the diplomatic stuff. Like Picard is the one that loves like the diplomacy and welcoming, and you have Cisco being like, is there any way I can avoid doing anything with these ambassadors or doing like I just don't really want to do this. Like, hey
yeah,
Bashir, why don't you lead around all these ambassadors coming to visit instead of me, and I'll just be really busy on the crew because something came up, right?
hmm
And you tell them that.
yeah,
He's just not ready to like deal with a lot of that, and he slowly does, especially once like the war happens. Then he has to kind of become this like leader for the Alpha Quadrant.
yes, yes. But back to like the early years of Cisco, there's an episode from season 2 called Paradise in which him and O'Brien are on this planet full of human colonists who have rejected technology and stuff like that, and he gets punished. O'Brien does something that Cisco gets punished for and stuff like that, and goes into this dark box and
Yeah.
stuff like that, and he's no technology and stuff like that, and stuff like that. I mean that's like says a lot about his character. He's willing to do what he believes is his principles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's where he definitely differs and stands alone as his own captain because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Like he like I don't know, like him and Kirk give me the Wild West vibes, but Kirk still had a lot of like he was very affluent in the Federation already and just kind of a prodigal captain type of person, whereas Cisco did not start off that way. Like that's not what he is there for. Like, and but he makes all these decisions kind of alone and in his own morals rather than through like what would the Federation do or what would the Prime Directive say I should do. And it's more just like, what do I think is right in this situation, or giving that trust and warmth to his crew, being like, you know what, I trust that you can get this figured out, or I trust that we can make something work, right?
Yeah, definitely. And it's great that we're that he does that kind of thing, especially when you mentioned the Dominion War and stuff like that. Don't forget about when he actually he didn't really have much respect for Klingon ways at first, too.
Yeah, he seems to be a little like set in his ways of being a human and not having he seems to not have too much respect for a lot of other like alien races at first, like where he just doesn't really like not really understanding the Bajorans or respecting them, and same with the Ferengi and everything too. But he learns, and that's why I like him a lot. He's definitely one of my like I would say I like Janeway most, Cisco next, like for my captains. But I really appreciate just him growing. He's so dynamic. You get to see it and grow with him as he's like, and that his son is such a major part of his growth too. And I think that's super cool to have that dynamic, because every other captain has no children, like they're directly involved with the whole time. Like Picard had like Wesley to kind of be father like to, and even to his own like to Data too, teaching him to be more like human and understand the world around him. But Cisco, actually, you get to see him be a father as well as a captain and trying to coordinate that.
Yeah. So that's great. But then like he was acting like a little bit like a father figure when Dax was gonna go off on this like Klingon ritual to kill the albino, and he goes like, "What about the laws of the Federation? You gotta listen to them too."
Yeah.
And stuff like that. Like I said, he wasn't very respectful of Klingon culture at first, and he also like he tolerated Worf.
Yeah.
When he tried to kill his brother, and stuff like that, and it's just like, it's crazy. But and I like his relationship with Dax, especially Cisco and Dax. It's
it's like cool that they reference their history and like knowing each other, and there's that trust in place.
Mm-hmm.
You don't meet a lot of captains that have like that long-standing relationship with somebody already. They like where they like most captains like they become close with their crew from being with them, but it's like the fact that we sort of see that in Voyager with some of the crew members, because some of them being in the rebel group together, and they all know each other through that. But like this is an example where it's like there's a history there, deep friendship, like a best friendship that exists, and so there's so much more of a different dynamic with them.
And and it's great that he does all this stuff, and then also being the emissary to the prophets, and being this godlike figure to the Bajorans and stuff like that.
And I honestly feel like his whole storyline, like that and everything, and being thrown into a war, thrown into that. I feel like that definitely, I can't imagine any other captain having to be in that situation. Like, I think he was the best captain for that situation. I can't imagine Picard
Oh
being
no.
in that situation. Almost Janeway, maybe. Definitely not Archer. I feel like I could see maybe Janeway, but also she's still a little more like, I don't know, rigid still,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
formal. So
yeah,
Cisco feels like the best person for all the situations he's thrown into.
yeah, definitely. Because with DS9, they were written to have consequences for actions, as opposed to say the Next Generation or Voyager or Enterprise or the original series. They were all episodic, and it'd be like, oh, wrapped up in a nice little bow at the end of the episode. With DS9, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Whenever Cisco did something that was kind of like out there, like for example, tricking the Romulans into joining the Federation in the Dominion War, um, there was consequences for that.
Yeah.
His morality took a beating. His ego took a beating. Like all the principles that he was sworn to protect, such as the Prime Directive or stuff like that. His morality took a major hit, and I think it resonated with him for at least a while after that. Taking like they were written to take consequences. Certain things that they did, and not just for Cisco, but for everyone else. Like Worf, joining the Federation against the Klingons.
Yeah.
When they
That's a
invaded
tough
Cardassian.
decision.
Yeah,
Well, and
I
it's like
mean,
that for a lot of the characters, like Kira has to do a lot of decision making, like
mhm,
on behalf of the Federation instead of the Bajorans, like evacuating that rural
yeah,
planet and having to deal with that. And even though
yep,
that's like what the Federation wants, even though it's like kind of like interfering with Bajoran ways, it's kind of a like, so you get to see that struggle where it's like where the Federation isn't always, you know, prioritizing or putting or taking into consideration other species goals and ideals.
yeah, and you can tell in the regarding Cisco. I'm going to go back to the emissary part of his character. You can tell in the first few years he's very uncomfortable being the emissary.
Yeah.
But when Akorum Lawn comes back after being away for 2 centuries in the wormhole, and pretty much gives him the kick in the butt, so to speak, to like
Yeah.
be the emissary here, you know, and after it's like you know after that episode called Accession, I think he embraces it more, to the fact that he actually enjoys I think he like you know whenever the kids say Peldor Joy Emissary and stuff like that, he's very happy, and stuff like that. But yeah, when he finds out that he was actually, you know what does it describe it as, when he actually was, I mean, the whole thing was orchestrated.
Yeah.
When he finds out the whole thing was orchestrated, um, and that was all planned from the beginning and stuff like that, He's just like he kind of turned away from it a little bit, but then he
Yeah.
embraced it
It's
more,
like
I guess.
overwhelming. That's why that human factor, he just feels so real, like, because
Yeah.
you get to see him struggle with decisions he makes, whether they're good or bad, with the
Yep.
Romulans being bad and having to like live with that. He doesn't just feel like, yep, I did it, gung ho, here we go. Like, it's like something he struggles with and like feels really guilty about, but also like it needed to happen, and like all these different like
Yep.
feelings around, like it's complex. He truly shows like the complexities of being a captain and sometimes making decisions that you don't want to make, or choosing to defy what it is that you're supposed to be standing for in
Mhm.
order to make ends meet, and also being stuck in desperate situations where it's like,
Yep.
what wins in those situations, and often it's his feelings more than like tactical thinking.
Yeah.
But And a lot of us do that anyway. Like, how do I feel about this? And then do it, you know? He's not some
Yeah,
like prodigal tactical person like that's what he's known for. It's like, I didn't even want to be here, guys, but here I am and I'm trying to make the best of it.
yeah, he didn't want to be here. I mean, he was assigned to Deep Space Nine. He didn't want it.
Yeah, and I think
Uh,
that's a cool thing because all the other captains, it's like they wanted to be there. But
yeah,
him, he was just like, I will find any reason to get out of here and get a new assignment. But I guess I'll hang out here after he builds those relationships with his crewmates.
yes, yes, and definitely after the prophets helped him to grieve, because he was just because when he was just holding it in,
Yeah, he's very there's something to be said about Cisco. Doesn't really talk much about himself, probably because of all the trauma and
yeah,
the terrible beginning, like origins of like why he's there in the first place. But like he then brings out everybody else around him through that. But it almost tells you more about him. You don't learn a lot of his history right away because it's
no,
painful,
yeah,
but you kind of figure it out through how he interacts with others and treats others, and you're like, I see that that's something he too struggles with, or he too feels that way.
yeah, and yeah, and it eventually gets to, and that's why we both agree that he's probably the most human Starfleet captain that we've ever seen in Star Trek. And whether that was you know the writing from the DS9 writing staff, or it was from Avery Brooks
Yeah.
himself. I bet you it was a combination of the both things, like the writing and him, made made him who he is, made Cisco who he is, and stuff like that. I mean, granted, I've heard rumors that he might be back somehow.
I would love that.
In Picard, that'd be, I don't know, maybe during this whole timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly timeline altering thing, timeline altering storyline from season 2. He's probably, oh boy, I hate that. But oh well. So
That's yeah.
yeah, I've heard it's not really reliable, that source, but but it's just like yeah, I mean, and then
Yeah, I like Cisco because of his flaws and really morally questionable things. I like it. That's why I watch it, for the different vibes, like compared to other series that kind of feel like they start from a similar place of like wanting to be there, being a captain in the first place, because that's
mhm,
what they were meant to do. And then you have this feeling of like a group of crew members who don't really want to be where they are, don't want to be dealing with each other, including the captain. But then it ends up working out really nicely. And then, despite all the issues they run into, like they still do a really great job being good crew members and good captain and being around each other.
yeah,
And I would say he's the biggest like leader that I've seen, like that, what I like out of a leader, despite some of his moral choices. But
yeah,
and also,
yeah,
he just punched Q. That's like my biggest takeaway from Cisco was, I'm like, I don't think any other captain would punch Q. He did though, like bold, questionable move. But hey, he's a prophet, so might as well deal with it.
yeah. And I see a bunch of memes about it ever since. I mean, on social media about, like, comparing Q to like the Picard and Cisco.
It's like
You
he
know,
Picard never hit me. It's like, well, I'm not Picard, and I that's like exactly what I take away from Cisco. I'm like, yep, exactly.
yeah. And I see, like, Picard, can't lose Q on a bet, stuff like that. Q punched Cisco punched Q in the face. Never heard from him again. Uh, yeah. I mean, it would have been fun to see Q more in Deep Space Nine, but
Yeah,
I think probably once was enough. He was
he probably
more.
just was like, dude, I don't have a good dynamic with this guy. I don't have a crush on him like I do Picard, so I'm out.
Yeah, yeah, it's great. Yeah, so yeah, I really can't think of anything much else to say about Benjamin Sisko, actually.
Yeah. Anybody listening, tell us what you think about Cisco? Is he your favorite captain, least favorite captain? I'm always interested because he's one of them that I've seen people either really dislike him or they really like him. Like really dislike him because he breaks a lot of rules or has done some morally questionable things. But I think that says a lot about people themselves, like who they like as leaders.
Yeah, and he gets obsessed too. He gets obsessed with certain things too. I forgot
Yeah.
about that. That's another flaw that he has. He gets obsessed with things to the point where when he was chasing down Michael Eddington,
Yeah.
he pretty much poisoned the planet.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he poisoned the planet
just to get him to surrender. Just to get Eddington just to surrender. So pretty much, it's just like I forgot about that. He's a very obsessive man. When it comes to certain things that he does, like regarding that, or trying to study something very intently, he pours himself into it, and he just doesn't think about anything else or something like that. And experiencing those visions that he had about the future and stuff like that when the Bajor was accepting the Federation offer to join the Federation, and that tablet he was looking at or something like that obelisk or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So and stuff like that, he got obsessed with that. He got obsessed with trying to decipher tablet too, with the reckoning and stuff like that. It's just he is obsessive with a lot of things. Or when he was trying to build that solar sailor ship.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got so engrossed into that too. And that's a
good.
good.
You did get to build the Defiant, so I'm like.
Yeah. So I'd like to hear you guys' comments about Cisco. Probably. Oh boy.
Yeah, there it comes. It's coming back now.
Yeah. So, Accession, in the Pale Moonlight,
and
probably the finale, and probably the finale. I would think probably the finale. I think DS9's finale is the most satisfying of all the finales.
Yeah.
Because I just think that way, because I don't know why people are so saying that it's not.
I think Enterprise is the best finale.
No, I think
I was kidding.
No. I've actually seen people defend these other voyages, but but I've seen people. I've seen people. I think it's one of the worst Star Trek episodes.
Oh yeah. Made. That's why I say, because I feel like I can say that most people are like, yeah, I know you're messing with me, and I'm like,
yeah. It's like,
in a rare moment that somebody's like, yeah, I agree, and it's like, oh, that was a joke. I was kidding.
Yeah, but I think These Are the Voyagers is the worst finale, but I think the most unsatisfying finale is Voyagers. So
yeah, like way to unwrite a ton of like episode and development with the finale. Thanks.
Yeah, and not only that, it's like, what happened after they got home?
Yeah, I'm like, wouldn't that just be a huge ordeal, and also like just absolutely insane for the Federation, being like so much research and so much storyline that now needs to be documented, and also like how they so much debriefing. How in the world do they just come back? Everyone's like, cool, like, but not be like, what the heck? Oh my gosh, like this is insane.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I said DS9's finale is the most satisfying finale.
Yeah. Agreed.
Well, Next Generation is next to that in terms of finale because of, I mean, it's, it ends the series, obviously, but we knew in '94 that a movie was coming out.
Yeah.
So it was
different vibes.
Yeah, it different vibes there, and obviously the original series never got a finale, except for that sexist episode. Yeah. Very sexist. Turnabout Intruder. But that's beside the fact. But yeah, DS9's finale, I think, would probably be a good representation of his character, because he fulfills his destiny as trying to be who he is, and stuff like that. And I don't know where his story goes from there, but on screen, definitely.
Yeah.
But definitely in the novels, he's back, obviously. But and stuff like that. So so I think those 3 episodes definitely exemplify his character. Those
I
episodes.
totally agree. Pale Moonlight was my biggest one. Love that episode.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, you got episodes that you have defined him as a character. Let us know too. That'd be great. All right. So until next time, take care and live long and prosper.
Live long and prosper.